Hi everybody, this is Kevin and welcome back to another video. And I finally finished The Legend of Heroes Trails to Azure literally like 10 minutes ago as I wiped away the tears and got my microphone out ready to record this, I guess, spoiler-free review, thoughts, gushing about the series, whatever you want to title it. And I'm honestly at a loss for words because I love this game so much. It hit me in a way I didn't think a video game ever would, especially with the ending, resolving plot points that more or less began in Zero. And I'm continually amazed with how each game in the Trails series gets better and better. You know, this is the 5th game I've played now, starting with Trails in the Sky first chapter. And, you know, I guess there is kind of a cliffhanger at the end of this one, too. But yeah, with all the games, you get a cliffhanger. Zero, not so much, because they sort of solved their crisis there, got rid of the bad guy, and then is there brighter tomorrow. But obviously there's room for a sequel, which is why Trails to Azure's here. And after finishing this game, man, like, I told myself prior to completing it, I was going to take a break for a while before moving on to Cold Steel, because I have some other games to play, and I have Star Ocean 2 coming out in November, in another month or so, really a couple weeks. So I got to play that, because I have it pre-ordered. But how can I not start Cold Steel now? And honestly, like, F Cold Steel, I want to see more of Lloyd Bannings in the SSS. Like, it's so weird, man. When I finished Trails in the Sky the 3rd, I'm there crying, like, no, then we're going to see Estelle again. And then Estelle shows up again in Zero and Azure, of course. And now at the end of Azure, I'm wondering, am I going to see Lloyd in the SSS again? And man, like, just the story, the character arcs for everybody, it's just something special. And if for whatever reason you haven't played these games, you owe it to yourself to play them. If you like video games, JRPGs, long forms of storytelling, just play these games, man. There's nothing else like it, in my opinion. And I played a lot of video games. I played a lot of video games that have made me emotional. Probably one of the most emotional games I've played in comparison to this is Tales of Berseria, one of my other favorite games of all time. But this is a whole nother level. And especially the ending, man. But, well, what can I say about, like, the gameplay and characters? I mean, this takes place a few months after Trails from Zero. The special support section, led by Lloyd Bannings. His associates Ellie McDowell, Tio Plato, and Randy Orlando are going around fighting crime and solving mysteries and evil cults and you name it. And, of course, there's some new members in the SSS this time around, including Wazi Hemisphere and Noel Seeker. And what I really liked, especially about Trails from Zero, is the fact that throughout the whole game, you have the 4 main characters in the SSS the entire way through. You know, Lloyd, Ellie, Tio, Randy. And then occasionally someone will join you, such as Wazi, Noel, Dudley, and then even Estelle and Joshua. And in this game, right away, you're in a party. It's Lloyd, Noel, and 2 redacted characters, we'll say for the spoiler-free people, which is so fucking epic in the prologue. And you're literally fighting enemies that were endgame level from Zero, you know? Like, you're fighting, like, the last dungeon enemies in the prologue of Azure, which is like, holy shit. And the levels do carry over, which they did from Trails in the Sky first chapter to SC and then Sky the 3rd. And you can get, like, a max level. I don't even know what the max level is in this game. I think I capped at, like, 118 or something, 118. There's a trophy for getting level 120, which I should have stayed grinding for a little while, but we'll get it in the second playthrough, because yes, I'm gonna replay all these games again for sure. But after the prologue, you make your way back to the SSS, and you find out that Tio and Randy are actually taking care of business elsewhere. So instead of just Lloyd and Noel, you're back at the SSS, and then Ellie and Wazi join the party. So I really like, obviously, Lloyd, the main character. He's going to lead the group. And you have Ellie, the support character, Lloyd's love interest. And then 2, I guess we'll say minor characters from Zero, becoming main characters in Azure in the party right away, so you can learn a lot about them. And then as you continue playing, I think it's by the end of the first chapter, maybe the beginning of the second chapter, Tio and Randy rejoin the party. But of course, we already knew a lot about them from the previous game, so I was able to flesh out some new characters. And not just that, but also so many side characters that have significance in this game. you know, from Risha and Arkan Seal with Ilya and Sully, which, interesting thing about Sully is she was a character that was locked behind a side quest in Zero, and here she is. She has a portrait now. She's very important to the main story. I mean, if you played the game, you know why. Cecile, of course, Kia, Arios, Wazi's associate, Abbas, which you learn a lot about Abbas later on, Wald, Fran, Zeit, how can we forget Zeit, Chief Sergey, Grace, the photographer, which Grace, you know, she reminded me a lot of Dorothy. She's like the more intelligent version of Dorothy from the Trails in the Sky trilogy. And I would say the game is actually quite difficult in comparison to Zero. Zero, I had no problem with any bosses. I think there's only one boss you can technically lose to in Zero, that is, and that's Wald in the, is it the prologue or the first chapter? You gotta fight Wald, and I don't think you can necessarily beat him. You just have to outlast him in turns, and it is what it is. But otherwise, all throughout Zero, every boss is more or less mandatory, whereas of Azure, there's at least 5 boss fights where you could win, and I did beat a few of them, but if you lose, it's fine. It's part of the story because the bosses you fight are so over-leveled and overpowered, and one even has a time limit that, you know, good luck beating them, especially because I played on hard mode, both with Zero and Azure. And near the end of the game, especially that final boss, man, that final boss was tough. I think I spent at least an hour on the final boss in the second form, and, you know, if you played, you know. But, man, the ending was just beautiful, man. Everything about the ending, the scenes there, like, I cried multiple times throughout this game, learning some of the things, some of the unanswered questions from Zero, and just seeing these characters grow, you know, just so good, man. The party members that join, like I said, you already pretty much know all the party members, but there's another character in particular who joins the party that, when it happens, it's just such an unexpected moment, such a hype moment that, you know, I ended up playing this game 5-6 hours straight some days when I had free time, and I couldn't put it down. And I think I clocked in, not 100 hours, but close to it, because there is a trophy for 100 hours. I got somewhere between 95 and I want to say 98 hours, and I did literally everything in this game. I missed. There's a trophy for the chest. I missed one chest, if you can believe that. And I could tell because in the record log it tells you the percentage, and I had 99.7%. And going through some guides, most of the chests are reaccessible, but the chests in the prologue and then another area, well, a few areas, but particularly the prologue, you can't go back to after it ends. And of course, the one chest I missed was in the prologue, which was like, what the hell, man? And there's also some accessories you can find, and I missed one of them, which was related to a side quest. But otherwise, I did everything. I did the go back and talk to every NPC. You get more party members, so it's good to keep switching them up. And you get different interactions if you talk with a certain character. Like, say, for example, Wazi. You go down to the Trinity Bar, talk to Abbas, and there's more dialogue there. And it's just such an incredible game. I don't know what to do with myself now, guys. Like, I am at such a loss for words. Just everything that happened. I think I started playing this game back in September, so it took me a little over a month. And I played it, you know, whether an hour each day or 6 hours each day. I did play it every day for the past month. And I've grown so attached to these characters that it's difficult to say goodbye. And as we got to the end there, looking at the final image you get, which I'll redact for my non-spoiler review here, and I'll show it in my spoiler review. But if you played the game, you know the image. It has all the main characters there. It's such a beautiful image. And, like, am I going to see these characters again? I kind of know I'm going to see these characters again because I have been sort of spoiled myself with that they do kind of appear in Cold Steel and at least Reverie, right? Because Reverie's the big crossover at the end of all the arcs. But I want to see more Crossbell City and Lloyd, and I love Lloyd so much as a character, man. Just his let's get over that barrier attitude. There's nothing that can stop him. the living embodiment of his brother, Guy Bannings, and all his friends and the SSS from Ellie, who I see a lot of people online don't really care for Ellie because, I mean, let's face it, she's probably the weakest of the main characters, but I still love her. She's the love interest for Lloyd. She's a support character who's always comforting people as like the big sister for Tio, and the mother. You know, her and Lloyd are going to get married at some point, and she's basically the mother figure for Kia. You have Randy, who's the older brother, which you learn so much about Randy, man. And that's another thing, too. With Zero, you had 3 bonding scenes, one with, and you can only pick one for each playthrough, unless you had multiple save files, which I did go and see them all. And I think they're all important. But, you know, you have the bonding scene with either Ellie, Tio, and Randy. And the one with Ellie is the romantic one. I'm talking about Zero, by the way. But the one with Ellie's romantic. Tio, they talk more because she has a history of Guy Bannings, Lloyd's older brother. And they talk about that and going to the Michelin amusement park for Tio's favorite mascot, Mishy. And then Randy starts telling a little bit of his dark past when he used to work with the Red Constellation Jaegers. And you learn more about that here. And, wow, it's just so much good stuff, Randy. It's hard for me to pick a favorite character, but I guess I'll have to go with Lloyd. Like, I just love Lloyd so much. But there's so much, man. Like, Tio, I love Tio. It's kind of funny. I just said Lloyd's my favorite. When I reviewed Zero, I said Tio and Randy are my favorites. And they're up there, man. That just goes to show you how great this cast is. But aside from them, Wazzy, I mean, he's great. Risha, you learn so much about Risha here, which she was pretty mysterious in Zero. And you as the player knew more about her, but the SSS didn't figure out what she was truly about until a certain point in Azure. Arios, what an important character he is. Dudley, or as Kia calls him, Doodles. Oh man, Noel. I love the game, man. So, is this even a review? I give it a 10 out of 10. I fucking loved it, and I want to play through these games all again, but I gotta play through Cold Steel first, and I'm just at a strange crossroad here, because, like, obviously I should keep going, because I'm going to see these guys again at some point, but I kind of want to go back and just relive it all. But, man, and the references, this is why it's so important to play the Sky games first, because there's so many references to the prior characters, appearances even, like we saw that in Zero, of course, but even simple references such as Alan Richard, like, his name's getting name-dropped a shit ton, and Alan Richard, again, a very underappreciated character from the Sky trilogy, one of the best characters in the Sky trilogy, another practitioner of the 8 leaves, 1 blade sword technique. So, I guess we'll end it here. So, how long did we even go with this video? 13 minutes, that's good. I want to keep it under 15 minutes. So, I will be recording a long-ass, who knows how long, spoiler thoughts, because my Trails from Zero one was like 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 40 minutes. I couldn't even tell you how long this is going to be, but there's a lot to say. I have even more screenshots. We're going to go through the extras menu. I'm just going to talk about it. I should also mention, this game had technically 7 chapters. They say there's 4 chapters, but there's also a prologue. Well, actually, no, there's 4? How many chapters are there? There's the prologue, intermission. Yeah, there's 7 chapters. No, there's 8 chapters. I'm getting so confused because there's the prologue, the intermission, fragments, and then the epilogue. So yeah, there's 8 chapters in this game. Holy crap. Oh man, but this game, it just builds and builds and builds, and there's so much going on in this game. It's so great. So, for whatever reason, if you haven't played Trails to Azure, go get it. I think there's a sale if you get it digitally from Nippon Ichi Software, NIS America. So, although this is Falcom, but it's licensed by Nippon Ichi Software. So go check it out, get the physical edition. Start with Trails in the Sky first chapter like I did, you'll appreciate it more. And stay tuned for my spoiler-filled review next week, I guess. So thanks guys, have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Peace out.
99.